I'm Anietie Antia-Obong. I'm the producer, director, writer of the short film PRIYANATH.
So let's start with the origin of this story and the fact that this is a very old story about a very real person. Where did you first come to this story? Were you always a fan of the yogi philosophy? I mean, how did you get into this? Where did this come from?
Well, absolutely. Well, Paramahansa Yogananda is the simple answer. So Paramahansa Yogananda has a spiritual classic. It's called The Autobiography of a Yogi. It's sold, I think, like 46 million copies at this point, and it's been around for a long time. And inside the book, he's telling about his life, growing up from a little boy, so, finding his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. And in that, in the book, he asks his guru, I want to know more about you. Tell me some stories from, your childhood. And his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, says, I'll tell you, but each one with a moral. And so he goes to tell him, this story. And so the film is inspired by this story. And it's like 3 lines in the book. But it resonated with me a lot. And it was a story about fearlessness, a story about courage. And Swami Sri Yukteswar, his nickname was the Lion of Bengal. And so you think of someone who's, it's like a lion. He's strong and courageous. And it just stuck with me. It's like, that's the way we need to live life. Fearless, just powering forward with that kind of divine stubbornness or willpower, and just living life to the fullest. And so I wanted to make the film, and the film is it's based on it, but
it's obviously a little different.
It's a little different.
Well, looking at the film, the battle of imaginary villains and real life villains becomes very apparent for this young little boy. What was it like being able to tell a story where it is not just a hero-villain story? There's so much more to this story. It's very poetic how he has to deal with this issue and what comes about. What was it like writing the script? Where did these all entwine, come together like that?
Sure. Well, I can say, first off, writing the script was fun. It was just fun, and I felt really blessed in that when I started writing the script, it just sort of came to me. It just was like, I typed it up in a day.
Really?
And I didn't make a whole lot of edits or anything. I was really happy with what came out of it. I thought, like, this is really it. So, and hey, I'm a fan of a million rewrites. Don't get me wrong. Like, you need a million rewrites to get your stuff right. But this one didn't take a whole lot of rewrites, for me, because I just felt like the story was there, and it was simplistic. And again, the story that Swami Sri Yukteswar tells, which is written in the Autobiography of a Yogi, is very simple. And so for me, the script needed to be very simple, very clean. And for me, the heart of it really was, the family, right? So the mom and the dad and the mother who, loves her child, and as clearly as, he's creative, seeing his imaginary villains taking him down, but she's just as creative, he gets it from her, right? And so it was really just a wonderful process of trying to pull together the idea of family and the courage that the little boy has, and both the mom and the son being, very creative, and really 2 sides of the same coin, I would like to think.
Let's talk about the cast and the casting process, and then finding that little boy. He's quite adorable.
Oh my goodness. Lekith Yalam. Lekith Yalam, I hope you watch this. He's fantastic. You're fantastic, Lekith. He was so much fun to work with. He is absolutely adorable, and I would joke, a little mischievous like his character, right? Finding Lekith is a story in itself. We originally started to look for our character, PRIYANATH, probably about 9 months before we actually found him. It was not an easy process. I wanted, someone in particular, right? I had this perfect actor in mind to play this character. And funny enough, I had tried to find, my little PRIYANATH, could not find him. I stopped, went on and did something else, and then came back, several months later, probably, like I said, it's probably like 9 months later, I come back and I'm looking for this little boy. And so I'm actually in a swim class, right? I'm doing like water aerobics, right? I'm in there, I'm like, paddling, doing my thing, trying to, stay healthy. And while I'm there, it's summertime, while I'm there are a bunch of kids that are in swim class. And as I'm sitting there doing my little thing in the water, I'm in the deep end, right? And I look around and I was like, wow, I'm like 95% of the children that are here in swim class, they're Indian. Their parents are from India. Most of the kids are born here, but the parents are all from India. So I was like, okay, here's my opportunity. Here's my opportunity to find that perfect character. So I actually came back to the next day, the next swim class, and I came back with a missing child flyer. And I go passing it out, saying, this child is missing. Can you please help me find him? And it was basically the character written out on this poster, and it had like the kid's, silhouette on there, and of course, everyone's like, oh, let us help her find this child. And they look and they notice that it's actually for a film. So that is how I got lucky. That is how I connected with Lika Yalom, and he is fantastic. And then our other actor, well, we have 3 actors in the film, or more than that, but the main actors, we have
the mother and the father.
The mother and the father. The mother is Krishna Smitha, who is wonderful. I just felt, again, so blessed to find Krishna because she was spot on from the moment, we met and she got that script and she began reading it. I could envision no one other than Krishna Smitha playing that role, and she just took it and it just became her, and she just took it over. So I love that. And Ram Lakoju is actually a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
He's a friend of mine. We met at church, and for the father, I really wanted someone who exudes, warmth, and love, and just a gentle spirit. And that's exactly who Ram is. And so the casting was fantastic. I love our cast.
Can we talk about, you say 95% of the people were Indian. North Texas has a huge population, not only in around Arlington, but Irving, obviously.
Yes.
Great connection there. And all the way even into like North Texas, Plano and Frisco even. Can you talk about the weird craziness about Dallas being one of the more multicultural cities in the country? It's wild to think of it that way.
It absolutely is. I tell this story. So after college, I left the Metroplex. I went to Los Angeles, worked out there for a while, enjoyed myself, came back here, and I was at a park one day with my little cousins, and we're having a good time, and I'm sitting, and I look around this park that is the same park that I went to when I was younger, because we used to live across the street from the park. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I am literally blown away. Because I look, and the park looks completely different than it did from when I was a child. I mean, there are Africans, there are Indians, there are just people from all over the world who are in this park. And I hear all these different languages being spoken, and I think, wow, this is not the same place that I grew up. It's completely different. And yes, it is, quite diverse. And Arlington, my goodness, is a majority city now, right? Isn't that the case of it? So it's fantastic. I love that the Metroplex is becoming far more diverse,
And I love the film, the fact in the film that even though they're Indian, it is very much a universal story. I felt like I wanted to know this young little boy, and I wanted to fight these villains that he was seeing and battling with. How amazing is it to tell a story of that culture, yet it is a universal story. It's something that, the story was inspired from an ocean away even. That's crazy to think of it that way.
Right, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, that it's universal, because for me, that was so central to it, because, I'm African American. People sometimes look at me like, oh, African Americans should be making African American films, and, some people think that way, right? And for me, it's like stories, the story is universal, right? It touches, on something that's very central to our human natures, right? The idea, of fear and powering through and being courageous. And so for me, I found it to be universal. And our cast and crew, it's completely multicultural. So we had like a really diverse, crew, which was fantastic, and this wonderful Indian cast. And then we have 2 African Americans who are also on the cast as well. But it was also important for me, though, to cast, people who were from India, although Lika was born here, but, his parents are from India, so people who had that Indian, ancestry. It was important to me because that's where the story comes from, and so I wanted to, sort of pay homage to that.
Keep it authentic even, too, as well.
And keep it authentic, right, exactly. And then the other thing that I don't know if anyone will notice it, but the other thing which I love is that in the film, when the mom is telling the story, there's a portrait that is in the kitchen, and the portrait is of Swami Sri Yukteswar, and he is the little boy, you know, in real life. You know, it's his story. Yeah. And so again, it's just the opportunity to honor where the story comes from. So that was really important for me.
That was really cool. Yeah. Well, I've got to ask then, how long was the shoot, and what was the process of, you know, the filmmaking process for you, going from writing that script to actually making the film?
You know, it was a long process, just because it wasn't like, hey, I wrote this script, call up my friends, we're going to make this film next weekend. It wasn't that way. Like already, I think I said, like the process of finding the actor, I initially started looking, could not find anyone, and had to stop and like, okay, well, I'll pick it up later, right? Yeah. Went on and did some other projects and came back to it. So it actually took a while, you know, but once we started shooting and we got everything in the can within a couple months, I mean, we shot basically over like 4 different weekends, but it took us, you know, a couple months to get that done, and then went back and did some pickup shots, and so that worked out really nicely, and then sat back and edited it, and that took some time, you know, but it was you know, for me, it was well worth the effort. I loved making the film, and I hope other people really enjoy watching it and get something out of it.
I've got to ask, this is a very big weekend for the film. Not only, you know, Frame for Frame here in Arlington, but I'm not mistaken, tomorrow you guys are in Mumbai?
Yes, we are. It's we're at the Indian Cinefilm Festival in Mumbai. I was like, wow, we're in Mumbai, and all I know is that when we got accepted, I just thought, how apropos that the first international screening for the film is in Mumbai, and so I hope those there watching it will really enjoy it. And so yeah, I'm really blessed. I'm very grateful. Like, we had a fantastic cast, you know, a fantastic crew, and a lot of people put a lot of effort, a lot of time into it, and you know, I hope people enjoy it, because we really enjoyed making the film, and having it in Mumbai is pretty awesome.
Well, I've got to ask then, where can we find out more information about you and about the films, and you can give us some websites?
Sure, absolutely. I would love to give you websites, but I only really have one good one. So go to shakenworld.com. It's ShakenWorld.com. Shakenworld.com. That's my company, and there you'll find information about the film and the other projects that we're working on. And yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Well, thank you for making a wonderful film, a universal film that I think everyone can get attached to.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely be in more touch in the future. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a joy. Thank you so much. And I'm just happy to be here at Frame for Frame and feeling really blessed. So thank you very much for being here.